Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm finally going to show you the build of my Billie Joe Armstrong inspired Les Paul Jr. I never actually made an intro video when I started the project, so now that the guitar is like completely finished, I figured now is the time to do that. The idea behind this project was to build a replica of Billie Joe Armstrong's live Les Paul Jr., the iconic white one that he's been using on stage since like the early 2000s. The original guitar is a vintage 1956 Les Paul Jr. and it's gone through quite a transformation over the years. When it first started showing up at live shows, it was a mustard yellow guitar with a humbucker pickup. Then it kind of disappeared for a while and reappeared around the end of 2004 during the American Idiot tour, but with like a completely new look. It had like an aged white finish, P90 pickup, and that version of that guitar became like legendary amongst Green Day fans. It was retired for a bit around the end of the 21st Century Breakdown tour, and back in 2015 when Green Day was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it was put on display, and in recent years it's made a return on stage, and I think it is likely to be a replacement for Blackie because Blackie is like getting used anymore on stage. So as you might have noticed, I'm a little bit obsessed with Billie Joe Armstrong's Les Paul Jr. and it's not only the history but also like the whole American Idiot era. I mean, that was like my childhood, so I really wanted to build one myself. Fun fact, Gibson also released a signature version of that guitar. Their first run of Billie Joe Armstrong signature juniors back in like 2006, I think. They featured a white one, and Epiphone also had like a take on that like the last couple of years. They even featured like a beginner model and like the basic line of Epiphone. That was really cool. So as you might have seen on my previous videos, I have built like a few guitars before, like Green Day or like Billie Joe Armstrong replica guitars, and I built like Blackie, Floyd, so this was like the most logic guitar to build next. And with this guitar I tried to like step up the building game because, for example, this is Floyd, the Les Paul Jr. replica I made back in 2018. This is an amazing guitar, let's get that out of the way. But there were like a few things that I tried to improve on this build. For example, this was like this started off as an eBay kit. First of all, like the wood like isn't mahogany, and like this was meant to be like a bolt-on neck. I did get it like glued in to make it match like the most to Billie Joe Armstrong's guitar. And there were like some wooden sticks, I know how it's called, like put in. Also like the shape is a little bit off. The pickup or like the overall hardware wasn't like of the best quality. This was like an eBay pickup. This is a compensated wraparound bridge. Billie Joe Armstrong, he never actually uses those bridges. Yeah, the tuners also were like some cheaper eBay ones. They are quite good, to be honest, but yeah, there were a few things that I tried to improve. So for this project, I started with a much higher quality kit from Precision Guitar Kits. If you're interested in building the exact same guitar, the kit on their website is called 54 Single Cut Junior, and it is possible on their website to like customize a few things. So I only changed up two things. First of all, I requested a paddle shape headstock so I could reshape it into the Gibson style, and a one-piece mahogany body. Like standard, it's a two-piece body. Other than that, it is stock, so it's an African mahogany body and neck and an Indian rosewood fretboard. For hardware and electronics, I went with a Seymour Duncan Antiquity P90 pickup, Gibson top hat knobs, vintage style wiring with a bumblebee paper and oil capacitor, a Tone Pros vintage nickel aluminium non-compensated bridge, and Clusen vintage 3-in-line tuners. I'll go more in depth on the finish process later in the video, but quick heads up, the guitar looks pretty new right now. I originally planned to relic it, which I actually did, but something went wrong during one of the final steps when painting the guitar, and I had to redo the clear coat. So for now I decided to leave it like clean, but who knows, I might try aging the guitar later on, and I will of course document the whole process. So as you might have noticed, there is a guitar case right here. So long story short, when I was building this guitar, I came across a Facebook Marketplace ad for a 2006 Billie Joe Armstrong Les Paul Jr. signature in white. And I wasn't even like in the market for buying a guitar like that, but I couldn't really resist. It was a really good price because the white version of this guitar, they go for like $2,500 or something like that, which is crazy. But this one was a really good price. So yeah, I was like, I gotta get this guitar. I mean, I've wanted this for so long now. Like back in 2009 when I started playing guitar, I always looked on the Gibson website and I was like staring at pictures of that guitar. So it was really cool to finally get that guitar. It was actually listed not far away from me. As you might know, I live in Belgium. So this is it. As you can tell, this one is like, it aged a little bit, so it got a little bit more yellow. There are some differences between my build and the real signature model. Things like the pickup itself. This is a P90 from Seymour Duncan. This one is the H90 pickup from Gibson. Also like the pickup placement, there's a little bit less space between the bridge and the pickup. Over here, there's a little bit more space between. Also the bridge, this is a Tone Pros bridge, and over here we've got a Gibson bridge. I think this is an advanced plating electronics bridge. And also like the Pickguard shape, over here there's a little bit more space because this is a 57 style Pickguard and this is the 56, so as you can tell it's a little bit different here. The differences are because I try to match Billie Joe Armstrong's 56 model, not the signature model. But I'll make a in-depth video with like sound demos in the next video if you guys are interested in that. So this is like the whole story on why I'm building this guitar and why I have the other guitar. So let's get into building it. So hey guys, right now we are in an unusual place. Right now we are in my attic, and here is where I'm going to be repainting the guitar. So this is all the stuff I gathered to paint Whitey. To paint a guitar, of course, you're gonna need your guitar. This is the guitar I just masked off the fretboard. I masked off the headstock, and I also degreased the guitar. So I did that with 70% alcohol because that's what I had laying around. Yeah, so after this step, I let the guitar dry for like a few days just to be sure that all the moisture is gone. And from this point, I didn't touch the guitar anymore. I am going to use vinyl gloves. And yeah, that's basically it. I still need to sand the guitar, like just to make it as smooth as possible. And that's what I'm gonna be doing in the next step. The other parts. So these are going to be the paint / coats I'm gonna be working with. So I'm gonna be working with nitrolac finishes.
So to paint the headstock, I'm gonna be using black gloss spray. For the primer, I'm gonna be using primer white spray. And I'm gonna be using cream spray to get like the base color. It's a little bit off-white color. And for the clear coat, I'm gonna be using Nitrolac Golden Age spray. So basically this is a new formula Nitrolac has come out with, and it should replicate the clear coat, the nitro, from the 50s. So it doesn't have that much plasticizers in it, so it should be more brittle and crack more. That's what I read from the website. You should check it out. This is for me also a first, so for me it's also the first time I'm gonna be working with the Golden Age spray. I'm gonna be using 800 grit and 600 grit sandpaper to make the base smooth before hitting it with the primer spray. And also, this is really handy. This is to clear all the pores of dust after I sanded it. So let's get started. The main reason why I'm gonna sand the guitar, it is already pretty good. It's a little bit rough right now, especially after you put the alcohol on it. The pores open up and the wood is a little bit rougher. So yeah, I'm gonna hit it with 600 and then 800 grit. I had this, or I made this, put this makeshift table together, and I put a soft cloth on it so I don't damage the wood. Even though it's gonna be a relic, I want the base to be as perfect as possible, and from that point I'm gonna start relicing the guitar. Right now I'm gonna be spraying the first layer of primer. Make sure you shake the can well, and I also put the can into some hot water to make sure there is enough pressure on it. So the guitar has had like 2 coats of primer right now, and what you can see here is that the grain is still coming through, which is 100% normal. This is my preferred method. You can always grain fill the guitar before you put on the primer, but in my case I'm just gonna go with coats of primer, and I'm gonna keep them as thin as possible by wet sanding them. And at some point the grains will be filled and there's gonna be a smooth white finish, and then we are basically ready for the first coats of paint. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. So here I've got my 1200 grit wet sandpaper, and here I've got some water with some dish soap. So right now I am done wet sanding the guitar. I'm telling you guys, this is not my favorite part of the process. It is very time consuming, labor intensive, how you want to call it. So yeah, but this is what it looks like right now. As you can tell, I went almost completely through the primer coat, which is 100% normal. I am using the primer as a grain filler, and I did not really watch out for the edges. This is 100% normal. So after this, I'm gonna get another coat of primer on this guitar. If you feel this part, it is almost completely smooth. So that is what I'm aiming for. I want a perfectly white, smooth guitar before I start going with the paint. So what I'm gonna do right now, before putting clear coat on it, is wet sanding the guitar. I am hoping that I don't have to put any coats of paint anymore on this guitar. So I hope most of the defects are gone and I can just start with the clear coat. So this is what the guitar should look like when you are done wet sanding. There are a few spots that I'm not gonna go any deeper on, because otherwise I'll just focus too much on it and I'll just sand through. So that's not really what we want. But what I do is I use a light and I check on the parts that I didn't cover enough. And this is what you see right here. Some parts are shiny, some aren't. So what I'm gonna do is just hit it a little bit more with some 600 grit. But other than that, it is pretty flat. So in this part of the video, I used some grain filler for the headstock of the guitar, just to make sure after the guitar dries, the grain will not be visible when the lacquer sinks. So we are back in the guitar factory, aka my attic. I didn't really film much of it, but I just basically sanded down the headstock. Now it is really nice and smooth, and it is ready for the first layers of black paint. So this is what the headstock looks like after 2 coats of black paint. For now I'll let it dry, and after that I'll add another layer of paint. So this should be a pretty satisfying part. So now it's time to do like the serial number on the back of the headstock. This is a picture I used as a reference from Billie Joe Armstrong's actual guitar, and I ordered some rubber stamps from Crazy Parts, and I cut them out individually and stick them to a ruler with some double-sided tape. And I did a lot of test runs, as you can tell. All that effort ended up being for nothing, because I didn't really like the outcome. Like, the font didn't really match, so I kind of wish I saw that from the beginning, but here we are. I just recreated the serial number with my computer, and I tried a different approach. So I ordered some water slide decal transfer paper, and I used a laser printer to get that on there. And what I did to save some water slide decal paper was I did a test print on some regular paper to find the exact location of the design, and then I got like a small square of water slide decal paper and I taped that on top of the previous print.
So as you can see here, I used some pictures of Billie Joe's headstock as a guidance to see where everything has to go. And the next step is putting a few coats of clear over it. And to be completely honest with you guys, I had to redo the headstock like 4 times entirely, so back to the bare wood. And the main reason for that was blushing. Blushing is something that occurs when you're painting with nitro and the room that you're spraying in is too humid. The moisture gets like trapped in between the coats of clear, and especially on a black surface like the headstock, it will look very foggy. First time I had that happen, I hit it with a heat gun and the paint started bubbling like crazy. Second time it happened again, so I sanded it back to the bare wood. And the third time I decided to use dehumidifier. So I put the guitar in my closet along with the dehumidifier and I did the coats of clear over there. And that actually helped a lot. But the problem then was I put the Gibson logo in the wrong position. It was like way too high up. So I started over and the fourth time actually was a success. So I buried that in a few coats of clear. And then it was time to do some relic work. Because on Billy's guitar here on the left, you can see that the Les Paul logo is a little distressed. And I'm trying to recreate that. On his guitar, his Les Paul logo was probably done with a silk screen, which if you don't put enough clear coat over it, it will wipe off. And with these decals, that basically can't happen. So I tried to find a good technique to recreate that. And what I did was I put some black paint on my fingertips or a toothpick or a piece of paper, and I just dabbed some paint over the logo. And when there's like too much on it, I just scratch that away with a toothpick or a knife. And the result turned out to be really good.
De chocomel van ons eten.
So it's been a week now since we finished lacquering the guitar. As you can see, I put the guitar in the sunlight. I am doing that to help the lacquer cure more effectively. The UV light speeds up the release of the solvents in the lacquer. And with this process, you might notice that the wood grain becomes more visible during the process. This is completely normal as we haven't wet sanded the guitar yet. Once we do, the surface will be smooth and even. But one thing to keep an eye on is the headstock, because that has a dark surface or a dark base coat underneath. And if that gets too hot, the lacquer will start to bubble, and that is something that we absolutely want to avoid. So in this part of the video, we are going to be building a pickguard for Whitey. Now you're probably wondering, like, why do you need another pickguard? You already have one. And the thing is, yes, it is correct, but actually Whitey has originally had a black pickguard on it, and I think in the 2009 era he swapped it to a tortoiseshell one. And the reason for that was because he was building the signature model at Gibson, and he gave the pickguard to them, and he got a tortoiseshell one in the meantime. Now, while I'm building this guitar, he swapped it back to the black one, as you can see in this picture. So that's what I'm gonna need to do. I'm gonna build a black pickguard to get it as up to date as possible. So I bought a blank pickguard. Why? Because it's maybe fun to build one myself, and it's cheaper. And also there's a fun thing about Whitey. So if you're building a pickguard or a guitar, a Whitey replica, there's something you have to keep in mind. Even though his guitar originally was a 56, it has a 57 pickguard on it. And you can see this right here. There's more spacing in between the pickguard and the pickup. And if you're gonna look at like 56 or older models, they have more of, there's less space between the pickup and the pickguard. So I found a template for this one. So this was the 56, this is the 57 shape. And you can see this part is thinner, and there's just a cutout here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this pickguard, I'm gonna glue this, I'm gonna cut this out, I'm gonna glue this to the pickguard, and then I'm gonna start sanding away. Hey guys, so we are back. It kind of got dark and I stopped filming because I wanted to save some space on my phone. But to be honest with you guys, I am very, very happy with how it came out. If you look at it, I did some tweaking to it, to the heel. Also with some sandpaper to make it fit just like Billie's. As you can see, his pickguard is a little bit like slanted to the right, and you've got a little bit of space here, so in my opinion it looks perfect. However, I do see a little sharp edge, so we're gonna fix that. But I'm very happy with how this came out. The next step is relicking the pickguard. This was my first time doing it, so it took a bit of experimenting. I started by completely sanding the pickguard with 2000 grit wet sandpaper to achieve a matte finish. From there I began polishing the areas that are meant to have a glossy look. It's a bit of a process, but I'm aiming to create that worn, authentic look while maintaining some shine on the places where Billie's pickguard is shiny. After that I tried to create some pick marks, and honestly, what better way to do this than using some actual guitar picks. So this is what the pickguard looks like after it's been relicked. So as you can tell, it's gotten a lot more dull finish, and I kept it a little bit shiny underneath strings, just like Billie's. Also some pick rash. Here is also a spot where it's a little bit more shiny. And here underneath the strings, I also put a little bit of wear. And yeah, at the screw holes on Billy's guitar there was a little bit of blushing going on, so that's what I did as well. Also around the neck part, the fretboard part, also a little bit more matte. So that's basically it. I used a regular sponge, I used some 2000 grit wet sandpaper, some polish, and a melanin sponge. So that's basically it. So in this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to harden the nitrocellulose even more. This is a trick you won't see a lot. Not a lot of people will tell you this, but this is something I gathered online and it really works. So let's get into it. So the guitar hasn't been wet sanded yet. You can do this trick afterwards, but you have to keep in mind that this will shrink the lacquer and the grain will come through the coat. When you do this step, make sure that the guitar has been drying for like at least 2 weeks, because you don't want to bubble up the paint. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna hit this with the hairdryer, or you can also use a heat gun, but you have to keep in mind that it's even more aggressive, so you have to be really careful. Put your hand next to it. If it's too hot for your hand, it will definitely be too hot for the lacquer. So let's get into it. So we just warmed up the guitar and now we want to let the lacquer cool down gradually. I know there are techniques that use a hairdryer to shock the lacquer, causing it to crack, but that is not something that we want to do in this stage of the process. So here's the unboxing of the Clusen 3-in-line tuners. As you can tell, they have a nickel finish which looks shiny, and that's definitely not the look that we are going for on an old looking guitar. So I did some research on how to give them the nice aged appearance, and basically I just want a dull look without oxidation. And since the nickel finish reacts with vinegar, I'll place the tuners in a box with a little bit of vinegar on the bottom of the box. And it's important to make sure that the metal doesn't come in contact with the vinegar itself, only the vapors. And also I'll make sure to check every 20 minutes to see if the effect isn't too strong. For example, this was after 1 hour. This was perfect for me. As for the plastic buttons of the tuners, I use some steel wool to remove the shine, and after that I will apply a bit of Nitrolac relic patina to give the white plastic a subtle yellowed look. This helps the buttons match the aged aesthetic that we are aiming for. For the Gibson top hat knobs, I noticed that Billie Joe's guitar has a volume knob with grooves in it. To replicate this, I printed out a template and I will try to recreate the grooves as accurately as possible using a few blades and knives. There are probably much better tools for this job, but I'm working with what I have on hand. So hey guys, this basically wraps up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did building this guitar. So this video cut short a little bit, so I'll explain. After I assembled all the hardware, I gave this guitar to my luthier in order to like properly set up the guitar and do the wiring and stuff like that, because he knows how to do that stuff like much better than I do. And yeah, I am very happy with how this came out. Next video I will compare this guitar to my real Gibson Junior. I have much more videos and guitars coming for this channel, so stay tuned for those. I know I could have edited this video a lot better and like filmed much more, but I was really limited on my time. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I will try to explain them as good as I can in the comments. See you guys, bye.